You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
Welcome to Volatility Views, the premier program for volatility traders. Each week, we'll take a deep dive into the world of volatility with in-depth analysis, trading activity reviews, strategy breakdowns, cutting-edge education, and much more. We'll also bring you exclusive conversations with the traders, researchers, and asset managers who are reshaping the volatility landscape. If it involves volatility, then you'll find it on Volatility Views. And now, it's time to take a deep dive into the world of volatility. It's time for Volatility Views.
All right, everybody. That music means it's time once again for Volatility Views, the premier program for volatility traders. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-exciting, at least we hope so, Options Insider Radio Network. A lot of great shows hitting the network. We're changing times, moving things around like crazy. I understand if you're a little bit confused, just for a quick breakdown on you. Option Block was always Mondays and Thursdays, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, has now moved to Mondays and Thursdays, 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. TWIFO used to be on Fridays, 1:30 p.m. Central. Now it has moved to Thursdays. That's been about a month or so now, so hopefully you got that one down by now. 1:30 p.m. Central on Thursdays. So same bat time on that one, different bat day on that one. And Option Block is completely different time. Same bat channel. With Vol Views, though, the one constant in our universe here stays the same here. Fridays, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can get it all sorts of ways. You can join us live every Friday at that time. By the Mixlr link, you've seen it. Grab it, set it and forget it. Follow us on Mixlr so you get notified when all those shows go live so you never miss anything, as well as a lot of our surprise interviews. You never know who's going to come through the studio during the week, so you always hit out fun surprise stuff there during the week. And, of course, however you listen live after the fact, the website, the mobile app, we don't judge. Hit us up. Questions, comments, insights, pearls of wisdom. We do indeed like to hear from you guys. And joining me on the program today, let's see who we got. First, let's go out to far reaches, the hinterlands of Maine, which, as we know, according to Google, the #1 destination for options interest in the United States, where we are joined. I think 70% of it comes from this guy, the Rock Lobster, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. Mr. G, welcome back to the Volatility Views, sir. Are you looking to nickel me again? Is that why you're back?
Yes, I am looking to Nick because that's my favorite thing to do.
You do spend some time lurking on my vol views, which I think, let's see how we're looking here today. I'm a bit off, but not bad. It was looking better until it all went ripping up today. But I did call it yesterday. Remember I said, I took off all my VXX downsides. I said, something's going to happen. Either it's going to blow to the downside or blow to the upside. So at least we got that. I got that going for me, which is nice. I got
stopped out at 402. 402.
I got busy talking to you on some other shows yesterday, and I missed some stuff. So I'll get it back another day. I didn't take it all. I got to take off some, enough to be smiling today. All right, and also joining us a little bit closer to home. In fact, he's immediately to my left. Listeners, you may remember his voice. It's been a while since he's been on, and he's got same old face, new business card. It's Mr. Russell Rhoads, formerly of the SIBO, now the head of derivatives research over there at the Tabb Group. Mr. Rhoads, welcome back to the Volatility Views program, sir.
I'm so new at Tabb, I don't even have business cards yet.
That is pretty new.
Yeah, I'm very new. Been there about 2 weeks, though, but I've already published 3 or 4.
Yes, I'm already getting research reports from you. I was like, the guy does he even have a desk yet? He's already hitting me up with research reports.
I'm just kind of hanging out on park benches on
no business cards, but cranking out the research.
Exactly.
For those out there who do not know of Tabb, what is it you guys do, and what are you doing over there, sir?
It's a much broader reach than where I came from SIBO. We've got different research practices. Larry Tabb, the founder, runs the equity research. I'm running derivatives research, and we also have FinTech. We got a FinTech conference coming up that's going to have just about anybody that's involved in the institutional space and fintech will be there.
Tabb has a fintech conference now? Oh.
Yes, we do. And we're going to have a Derivicon conference that we haven't put a date on yet in the spring. I know, I like that, Derivicon. I don't know if we...
Do I have to cross the Rubicon to get to the Derivicon? Is that how that works?
I'm thinking more of like Comic-Con. Are we going to, we're going to dress up like giant Greek letters or something. So there. Tabb Group's been around for about 20 years, mostly doing research in the market structure area. I'm going to expand on that in the derivative space and kind of stick with what I know in the volatility space as well. So a new home for me, and a lot more topics that I get to investigate as well, which I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, I used to know your precursor way back there, Andy Nybo, and he did a different type of research. He would do more, like you mentioned, kind of market structure, kind of contacting brokers, seeing how they executed if clients had a preference for high touch or, electronic type of execution. Not at all the same type of research you were doing, so it's interesting to see it. And then to my knowledge, I never really had a volatility researcher, so sounds like you're bringing a new practice area to these guys.
Yeah, most definitely. Definitely expanding on what we've done in the past, which, again, I'm pretty excited about. I got all kinds of It's like I got so many ideas, I got to pick one and run with it at this point.
I can tell. He's that nice. Yeah. Our next few listeners, and he is quite excited. So let's get to it. It is time for our volatility review.
It's time to break down the latest developments in the volatility trading world. It's time for the Volatility Review.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Volatility Review. This is indeed the portion of the show we break down the week that was and still is from a volatility trading and trending and analysis perspective. Before we even get to that, I got this research report coming through my desk this morning. Some crazy dude, I don't know who he is, hitting me up with all this market research courtesy of Tabb. Mr. Rhoads, you've been a busy fellow over there. You're already hitting me up with research reports, and you've been there like 3 days.
I've been there longer than 3 days.
Your exclusive U.S. options market review, a.k.a. the OMR. What is in your exclusive options market review, sir?
Basically take a look at which exchanges are getting market share. Are people trading weeklies more? Are they trading index options more? I think one of the most interesting parts of it is we take a look at the average spread across the industry. There's been some interesting stuff that came out in the report with respect to that. It looks like, as of right now, and I even think without another volatility event, we're going to see maybe the first 5 billion contract year for the options industry, which is absolutely amazing when you think about it, because you often hear about equity volumes dropping off. So, I think that really does speak to the strength of the industry.
Yeah, VIX Apocalypse, Febrageddon, call it what you will.
Volmageddon.
Really kind of set us off on a new track here. Looking at some of your exclusive market research here as we speak. Second quarter volume, obviously, we're strong. Slip from first quarter as vol subsided. No surprise there. Through the end of June, 2.53 billion options changing hands at the U.S. exchanges, on track for, like you said, for 5 billion contracts. That would be a 20% jump. Numbers from OCC kind of backing that up. They're kind of on par for that 20% or something close to that level over there. So yeah, interesting stuff here. Check it out, Tabb Group. There's Tabb Forum over there as well. So a lot of places to go get your good stuff there. I'm sure you already hit me up, but you've been there. You don't have business cards yet, so I'm sure
I don't have cards, but I'm doing work.
I'm sure there'll be a lot more. They're putting you to work quick. Yeah. I'm sure you need to have a graceful settling in period there. But we shall see. No graceful settling in for the markets today, that's for sure. Everything kind of volatility coming roaring back to life. We're seeing most of the major indices listeners off about, let's see, S&P about 0.6%, Qs roughly in line with that, off about 0.5%, the Dow off about 0.7%, so all firmly in the red. VIX taking this opportunity to go firmly into the green, kind of getting back all of last week and then some, hitting 1280 right now as we're speaking, up about a handle and a half. Got over the 13 handle briefly, 1310 was kind of our high on the upside. All of our other friends kind of hitting rally ho mode as well. We have a poll out there. Will VXX hit 30 or 26 next? I guess we know the answer to that because it's at 30 exactly right now. So we know the answer there. Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, we'll start with you. A lot of going on. I was joking yesterday with you on the show that something's going to happen out there because I took off a lot of my stuff, and sure enough, it did. Not maybe the direction we were all joking about, but still interesting stuff. What's catching your eye today, sir?
First off, I want Russell's research. How do I get on his?
You got to get on the exclusive market research list.
You can get Tabb Forum. There's a condensed version, and then Tabb Group, which is the subscription area, is the much longer drawn out report. And I'm going to tweet both those links right now. I'm going to shamelessly tweet while you speak.
Yesterday, I swear, I put out to close some of our VXX puts at the end because I got close to a stop, a penny away. I'm like a penny away on a stop. I just do it anyway. So this is what I think is always weird, right? When you've got so much future premium hanging over the VIX Cash, right? Which, okay, VIX is low. It's in the 10 handle, probably the first time all year, or at least in some part of January. January, which is a month I can't even remember at this point anymore for vol. That future premium is pretty heavy, right? So when VXX is actually moving up in a benign day toward the end of the day, that's a weird thing yesterday. We're doing at the end of the day when we were doing the show at 12, and I was reminding myself it shouldn't. This is as a trader, vol should be doing certain things every day, right? And as a market maker, you sort of live that decay every day. The only time that decay really doesn't happen is when the market is the liquidity provider. In the old days, people just screamed and yelled, but now the bids start to jump on stuff, and that's not normal. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but that's just not the way of things going into what should be a quiet weekend. And then if the VIX futures, to me, the VIX futures, you want to learn how to trade volatility right now, spend all your time learning the VIX curve. Of course, you can get all our cool stuff that we created on understanding how the VIX curve works and all that and how it can make you money. But the thing is, when it's going up, when it should be going down, is usually a signal to be careful or close some VXX puts if you have them on, because it's not supposed to be doing that. You should get a little settling of that premium should start compressing a little bit. So it's a good signal to take something off. So today I re-added a couple of puts, but I added some VXX strangles as well, just in case this whole. I'm still leaning a little short vol, but now I have some upside call contracts.
Oh, you're the one buying all the upside in VXX. What are your strikes du jour, sir? What strikes float your boat out there these days?
The strike is the 30 put on the what's today, the 10th, so it's 2 weeks from now. That would be the 24th, and the 31-37 call spread against on a slight ratio.
Oh, same month. So, no calendar going on there.
There's no calendar going on, just a straight, because like I said, when VXX shouldn't be making this move up, and if I think it's all because of Turkey and currency crisis, which anything could always spill out and become a mess. You never know. So what I don't actively fade the first jump in volatility. I kind of sissy fade it by buying a strangle with a short delta, and then I'll give the position a couple of days. So if I don't get any real action, I burn a little theta, and I really don't care. But if we do actually get a direction and the vol pops, then I can start. Then we start making a little money. So that as a trade. So it's basically kind of a wait and see trade, because they pop the vol now, but if they take the air out of the volatility balloon on Monday, because we're now going to be sitting at almost a 13 VIX. The market's only down 0.5% today, which is almost nothing. So that crazy low vol, I right before the show yesterday, we bought a straddle for the fund. At the money vol was 6% in SPX, which, we're still getting 0.5% moves every day just up. So really, really inexpensive volatility. in the SPX yesterday. So any kind of a move down will move VIX up. So what we would need now is a sustained move. So if I'm in there in the SPX and I'm trading vol, I'm kind of sitting here waiting, a little like Fred Sanford. Is this the big one, Elizabeth? Am I going to have to keep bidding the vol up a little bit?
A huge reference for all our millennial listeners.
Coming, Elizabeth. I'm coming, Elizabeth.
Dude, was there ever a better guy on TV than Fred Sanford? Red Fox was awesome.
He was awesome. He did indeed have his moments. Most of them heart attacks for some reason.
Yes. Well, I think he liked to have a good time, which can't blame him. So anyway, that's kind of where the vol setup is. It's one of those things where either we're going to we either get continuation from this Turkey crisis, and then, of course, there's some tweets, so we're going to throw more tariffs at him kick him while he's down. We don't like that Erdogan guy, and we see what happens with all of it. So that's where it's all standing, I think, at this point. But ultimately, I think just the quality of earnings just ran everybody over. For the most part, companies are making a lot of money. Tariffs be damned at this point. I don't know when that starts wrecking everybody's life, or I guess the U.S. government just wants to start making, $100 billion extra a year because they got a huge deficit. So anyway, that's where I think from a vol space point of view is pretty interesting. So that was the big move, and can't stay in zone 1 forever, right? We talked about it yesterday. We trade 13 out of zone 1 again, just as we were there for 2 weeks and kind of a happy little time. But
so we had 2 weeks. You can't get too mad at that, right?
No, I mean it was enough to jack some value back in some kind of dead VXX puts, which was good. But that's what we have, and I mean it can't even sneak out of it. It's just like, how can it get over can it stay in the 13 handle? Not with a 0.5% move today in SPX, though. I don't think it's enough.
Well, Mr. Rhoads, I know you're kind of out of practice. Actually, later on in the show, I get to play a drop I haven't played in a long time. So that's kind of
very excited about that.
Very exciting.
I thought I was going to have to sing it.
That would have been terrifying for all involved, especially me because I'm sitting right next to you. But I know you may be out of practice and you're kind of looking at all this other stuff now, exchange volume and things. But there is this thing we like to look at every now and then called volatility. There's a product that people use to trade it, sometimes called the VIX. You may be familiar with it. Anything in that realm catching your eye over there these days while you're at Tabb?
Well, first I have to correct you. You cannot trade the VIX index.
Oh, yes, thank you. That is a good correction.
No, it appeared that VIX was kind of holding up, which I think made a lot of people think that we might be coming up on a repeat of what happened in early February. And then lo and behold, I look up and VIX starts with 10. Which I was kind of, if I had been on here on a regular basis, needless to say, I would have kept saying over and over again, no way, we're going to break 11 again.
You would not have you would not have been buying 10s. You would have been buying like 12s and 13s the whole time you were on.
Now we're pushing that elevated 13, actually the teens. And the way it's reacting today with a relatively small sell-off, don't you think that probably has something to do with a lot of macroeconomic stuff that really could hit the fan this weekend as we all relax out on the beach or whatever?
Are you saying there's some literal weekend risk this weekend, sir?
Yep. I think there's some literal weekend risk coming that's impacting VIX today.
Yeah,
as long as the market stays down, VIX is going to hold up throughout and probably keep creeping higher through the end of the day as well.
It has this feel that we know people have been saying for a while. People have been asking me for a while, how come, things are so complacent given everything that's lurking? And we kind of, all that complacency kind of went away today in one fell swoop, it seems like. So we were kind of playing around. We were messing around. You mentioned we got down to a 10 handle in VIX Cash. Then everyone kind of decided after yesterday, maybe things are a little crazier than perhaps we thought. Let's put a little juice. Let's put a juice back in the old machine and give it a squeeze. And we said VIX Cash, like I said, right around was 1280, right around 1281 right now as we're talking. It's up about a handle from where we were talking last week. We were in the 1180 or so range. We got down much lower, I would say, intra-week. VVIX getting some life back. Got 8 handles back just today. Coming into the show, it was about 88. Now it's about a 96 right now. So VIX moving, things rocking and rolling. Let's pull up here. Coming into the show, we had a nice little spread on the futures. Let's see if we can get the what's going on right now out there. Coming in, we had looks like about not even a handle, about 0.8 between the cash and the AUG future, and about almost 2 handles between the cash and the SEP future. And it seems like we got about a handle and it's pretty close, pretty much about the same, about a handle and about almost 2 points between the cash and the 2-month future. Are those things, the VIX futures, are those days behind you, Mr. Rhoads? Do you not look at such things anymore?
No.
Is that beneath your tread over there?
Nothing is beneath me. You know that. I brought my own bottled water today.
Futures? What are these futures? You don't trust our studio water.
Hey, I'm covering all things derivatives. I'm all about futures just as much as options. I'm just as much about going over and saying hi to the CME group as saying hi to SIBO. I am all things derivatives.
Who is the CME you speak of? I'm not familiar with them.
It's a name that I was not even allowed to utter for 9.5 years.
No.
But yeah, you've heard me say this a million times, and my attitude about this has not changed since I've left the mothership. You don't look at VIX by itself. You just don't. And I think Andrew even mentioned on last week's program, yes, I have been listening. That
he's been stalking you, Andrew. He's been stalking you virtually.
It's okay. I don't think Russell is that weird. It's all right.
Well,
he's okay.
You don't see him today. He's looking kind of weird.
I basically I start listening to the recording on Monday, and if it's Andrew, I stick with it. If it's Mark, I go do the lawn or something.
Good practice. I think that's not a bad practice.
But there has been a lot of mention over the past few weeks on this show about the futures holding up, regardless of what the index is doing, especially going into the fall. It's something that's persisted for probably since May, and I think there's a true indication, even though VIX had a 10 handle earlier this week, that there are people that are a little bit concerned about going into the fall. One of the reasons that I think we're probably going to see record volume this year is because I assume that we're not past all the volatility events for 2018, and that always leads to more volume.
It does. It leads to many things out there in the vol space. Looking over here at the big VIX mothership options, as we are also want to do here on the program, and today's move putting a little bit of numbers on the tape. We're averaging the ADV pretty weak right now. Again, we're in that kind of seasonal trough usually. For all things options, and vol is no different. August, not usually boom times for options or vol trading. The ADV is reflecting that nice seasonally weak, about 438,000 contracts right now. Usually it's in, Mr. Rhoads, you probably concur with this, right? Somewhere in the 600 to 660 range is kind of average for VIX options usually.
Yeah, and it's that has not come back yet.
No, we're not. We're still well short of that. 437,000 today, looking pretty robust. 381,000 contracts on the tape, as you would expect, given our little rocket ship back to the teens here. So we'll see how that's lighting up. The rest of the week hasn't been super action packed. We got 526,000 though. Actually, yesterday 640 on Wednesday. It's actually a couple of days of decent volume. 490 on Tuesday, 457. So actually, Monday was it looks like I take that back. All days were above the ADV. So there you go. I take that back. And 3-1 out there in the call to puts. Mr. Rhoads, I often joke. In fact, I've had it in the notes, I think, ever since you left, of the call to put. I always had next to it, Russell is nervous. Just because you're always nervous. And B, I know that level of 3 is where you start paying attention. I don't pay attention until it's like 4.5 or north. But I know when it starts getting to 3, that's when you start getting a little agita, as we Italians say.
Yeah, I'm always, at least in my previous life, I was always hoping that people would get nervous earlier, so I always said 3. I want people to get alarmed as quickly as possible.
All right, Mr. Rhoads, I don't know if you're ready. I don't know if the world is ready. But it is time. I never thought I'd play this again. It is time, listeners, well, you know what time it is.
Now, Russell's Weekly Rundown.
I missed that. It is so ridiculous. It is quality.
I played that. You finally gave me a recording of it shortly before I dropped off as being a regular here. And I played it for my kids, and my 13-year-old looked at me and was
she
like,
suitably embarrassed?
She goes, Dad, I just don't even want to be associated with
yes, that is the appropriate response to that. I'm amazed we got that past any sort of SIBO approval over there, because it is too ridiculous for words, which is what makes it awesome. And what else is awesome is that we haven't talked VIX weekly options in forever, Mr. Rhoads.
And
catch us up. Give us like 6 months worth of weekly trades right now.
Well, it's really, what's kind of funny is I think maybe the fact that I haven't been on here talking about weekly trades has done something.
Not exactly lighting up the tape,
no, has done something to the volume there. I was really struggling at looking for something for trades to talk about. So that I can focus on what I'm saying, I did forget to look one number up. If one of you guys could grab the VRO from this week, that would help me tremendously. I forgot to look and anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's the Wednesday VIX settlement, because there were a couple of trades that were done, the Wednesday weekly VIX settlement.
Mr. Rock Lobster, do you have that in front of you?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay. Well, early Monday, for one of the first weekly trades of the week, somebody bought a little more than 3,000 of the August 8th 12.5 puts. They paid 55 cents for those. If they held them through settlement on Wednesday morning, if settlement was below 11.95, they did pretty good on that.
Yeah, that was well timed.
And really that's why I was asking for somebody else to grab that number while I try to read. I cannot type, read, and think all at the same time.
Your skills are atrophying since you left the CBOE.
That's true. I'm graying too very quickly. That was really the only size trade that I came up with on Monday. Tuesday, somebody bought 1,000, and this is a pretty well timed trade right now. Especially if we do get some sort of weekend event. Somebody bought 1,000 of the August 15th, next Wednesday, which is a weekly's expiration. The 16 strike calls, they paid 15 cents for those. They just did them outright, no spread whatsoever. So, 15 cents for the 16 call, I know.
By the way, 1091 looks like on the VRO here.
Okay, well, hey, then you're almost looking, if they held this trade where they bought them for 55 cents, they did particularly well.
That looks pretty good.
And actually, so
you're saying all the weekly people are super savvy these days, is what you're saying?
I think the ones that have stuck with it, maybe they sticking with it from something they learned from me in the past, are continuing to do okay. Tuesday, also another one in the August 8th 12.5 put. Somebody bought some more. They paid $1 and $1.05 for some, and that was mid-afternoon on Tuesday. So again, that's about a 50-cent profit if they held them through the settlement. Personally, I would not hold things through settlement, but I'm not like other people in the world that if you don't trade exactly like me, you're wrong. There are people that will say that. I live and let live. Maybe I'm turning into a hippie now that I'm not in the corporate world.
You're wearing the tie-dye and stuff, so that probably starts it.
So Thursday, had a buyer of 500, no weekly trades of any interest whatsoever on Wednesday. Thursday, had a buyer of just a few hundred of the August 29th 14 calls for 79 cents. Again, if you get...
You said 14?
Yeah. You get... I know, you should... I always wish that I had done this in person because you see the facial expressions that I'm getting out of Mark as I run through these. It's like, whoa, that makes sense. Oh, no, that's a terrible trade. You could you could have analysis. Like when you go to the ER and they hold up a little thing with the frowny faces and the smiley faces to let you know what kind of pain they're in. I think there are 10 facial expressions I'm looking at right now, and we could figure out how much you agree or disagree.
How much I like or do not like these trades, yes.
So, and then finally today, just a couple of small trades, but both of them somewhat bullish. Somebody bought 105, very early, bought 105 of the August 15th 12 calls for 95 cents. And again, any sort of volatility event over the weekend, you're looking pretty good there. And somebody sold 100 of the August 15th 12 puts for 25 cents, just hoping that VIX stays above 12. But it's also a quieter time of year. Not a whole lot going on, but not exactly lighting it up, to use Mark's phrase, in the
trademark,
in
by
the
the
weekly.
Way.
Okay,
my invoice will be sent to Tabb form forthwith.
But not exactly lighting them up in the VIX weeklies this past week.
Yeah, I'm looking. Those 12 calls are already in the money, so he's looking pretty good there.
Yeah,
got like 30-odd cents. Just take them off and go home. Forget the weekend. Mr. Rock Lobster, any of your crazies over there in the pit chat? Are they still slinging any VIX weeklies, or are they amongst these seem like the masses who have abandoned it, except for these savvy few?
The thing with the weeklies is I like them. It's a little tricky for execution because the markets are still a little, I think for retail, a little tough. But
it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
I trade them every week. And I feel like you've really got to split the middle and give up a little bit when you're buying or selling, because the bid-ask spreads don't look particularly attractive.
No, they do not. So, I mean, the only thing I have now in VIX is like some regular August ordinary cycle. So as far as we've looked at weeklies in the funds. Sometimes we trade them when we get the liquidity. I just thought there was like a crazy amount of contango premium in the August ordinary cycle with 2 weeks to go. So that's where the focus has been. But it doesn't mean that, every once in a while the weeklies are an itch you need to scratch.
Speaking of scratching some itches, let's scratch our itch to run down the number 1 through 10 hot VIX strikes in terms of open interest. These are the big VIX mothership options. Get out of that weekly ghetto. We're done with that craziness now. Move on to the big boy contracts. And still, I mentioned the OI and just kind of the volume creeping up this week, which is good, even though the ADV is still kind of weak. And that's kind of still reflected in our top 10, where usually on our top 10, we'll see 450, 500, 600,000 topping the VIX list. This week, it's mere 205,000 contracts. So the OI still not quite catching up, even though the volume catching up a little bit this week. It's the AUG 20 is taking our number 1 on our top 10 hot VIX strike looks, 205,000 contracts there. Number 2, the AUG 28 is 188,000. Number 3, going out to SEP, our first SEP on the list. SEP 22's 173,000 contracts. Number 4, the 30s. The 30s persist. Russell, I don't know if you've noticed this too in your far-reaching derivatives research. But whenever we do this list, it doesn't matter the months. Could be back in July, it was the same. June, August. Doesn't matter where we are in VIX land. Like this 30 strike has this animal magnetism to it. People keep getting drawn to it. Have you seen that as well?
It's Mr. 30.
Mr. 30. he just buys every 30 strike every month.
Yeah.
So we have 50 Cent and Mr. 30 is a new addition to the VIX trader lexicon.
And it's going to be the ultimate crossover episode if somebody buys a whole ton of the 30 calls at 50 cents.
Is he in his office all day trading VIX 30s and having reruns of 30-something playing on the TV in front of him? That's kind of his day.
Oh, my God. What a depressing show.
Yes. Quality stuff, particularly when 30's in the rearview mirror. Let's keep moving on from these depressing topics. Number 5, what do we got? Oh, we got Dees. First Dees on our list in a while. Dees, 47 halves, 166,000 there. Interesting stuff. They'll have to dig in to see what's been opening out there in Dees land. But Dees 47 halves, taking number 5. Number 6, SEP 20 is 162,000. Number 7, our first and only put on the list. We've seen a lot of puts on the list of late. This week, not so much. Read into that what you will. AUG 14s, 157,000 of those. Number 8, the comparatively much more reasonable AUG 17 calls, at least compared to the 47 halves. Number 9, the AUG 21s, and rounding out our top 10, a nice little mid kind of tier call, the AUG 25s, 139,000 contracts. Total of just shy of 8 million, about 7.95 million contracts, about 5.95 million on the calls, and about 2 million open on the puts. Mr. Rock Lobster or Mr. Rhoads, anything surprising about these numbers? Is that pretty much kind of what you expected?
Dees, that's kind of interesting.
The Dees was interesting. I need to dig into that trade, see exactly what they opened there. Yeah. I must have missed that one going up this week, but interesting stuff. Mr. Rock Lobster, was that you slinging all that Dees?
The word Dees VIX. Can you think of a more unexciting contract to buy than December VIX? When you think about it.
But you can get some weird things that can happen, because you're right, because everyone's on vacation or done, and then it just shoots up like 20%, so you get some weird stuff.
Yeah, I guess, but it's one of those things where, so if the vol blows tomorrow, what's really going to happen with the December VIX contract? It's one of those things where if I want to trade VIX, I want the action that it's going to give me. If you buy December, it takes so much effort for that Dees future to do anything. Yeah. You might as well be, watching the paint dry as far as I'm concerned. Well, for crying out loud.
Not everybody has been watching VIX as long as we have, and not everybody understands that. You got a couple of extra holidays. Well, I think everybody knows we've got a couple extra holidays between December expiration and the options that it's going to be based on, which are the third Friday in January of 2019. Oh, my God. Time is just flying by. But, somebody maybe looked at the curve and said, wow, December futures look a little discounted, man. Let's pick up some let's get some cheap juice.
Yeah, I'm with you, Russell, Mr. Rock Lobster. You can get some weird stuff in Dees. I don't know if I'm with you to the level of 47 half. That seems perhaps a bridge or maybe 10 too far for that one. But I could kind of see maybe what they're thinking. I'm looking here at some paper that's been going up this week out here in VIX land, and again, I want to dig, see where those Ds went up and see exactly what they were doing, if it was part of another leg of a spread or what exactly was going up. Did see some interesting stuff. I've been joking for a while that, maybe it's kind of bullish risk reversal season out there in VIX options land. That certainly paid off today if you had those on. In terms of that, looks like now it's kind of verticals and perhaps the return of the ratio of verticals. At least today, we saw some of the big trades going up today where the SEP, where we got SEP going on the 19th there, so regular SEP, 1625 vertical going up 12,000 times today. Looks like paper buying that one. And also, we've got kind of a, not quite a short 1x2, more like a short 1x1.5. It was the AUG 1621, selling 10,000 of the AUG 16s, 56 cents, and then buying 15,000 of the AUG 21s for 24 cents. So not quite 1x2, but 1x1.5. We'll take what we can get. Yesterday, we saw more of the 1x2s going up. We saw the SEP 1924 1x2 going up 5,000 by 10,000 times. Paper selling the 19s, 63 cents, buying the 24s for 36 cents. So I don't know, Mr. Rock Lobster, is it that time? Are we getting back? I guess today it would have worked out pretty well, but are we getting back in the, is it time for the old short 1x2 to rear its ugly head again?
The short 1x2. As in buy one, sell two?
Sell one by two. Sell one by two.
Yeah, sell 1x2. Possibly. I mean, I think that type of trade would work around the election. It isn't going to make you a lick of dough in between now and maybe late October. And I think for whatever reason, there might be there will be some election volatility. But maybe, anything could happen, but it might be one of those, it's kind of where you place the trade and, maybe something happens and it can make you some money. So there's possibilities there. But it's hard for me not just to like regular old VIX call spreads. They're the cheapest thing going. So it's hard for me to buy all that expensive skew on the upside.
So you're saying forget all that fancy stuff. Forget all that fancy schmancy stuff. Just buy a nice VIX vertical, set it and forget it. That's what you're saying. Something
like that.
Spoken like a true diehard Maine cynic libertarian kind of outskirts wood lathe man kind of guy.
Well, I don't buy the call spreads though without buying a put, because the puts are usually the thing that pays like 10 out of 11 cycles. Russell actually did some good stuff on that, I have to admit. So I like to think that was my own idea, but I stole it from him.
You have to admit, I did some good work once. Oh my gosh.
And he's been trading off it ever since.
This is why I had to come back to defend myself.
That one paper he wrote in 1986 was really good.
Your last paper, Russell.
I'm well aware. So.
Mr. Rhoads, are you equally not as enamored with short 1x2s right now in VIX land? Do you want to go the old boring call vertical route instead?
I am all about boring and what works, much like the options king of Upper Maine.
He is all about boring. That is true. He single-handedly has turned Maine, though, into the options hotspot for Google. So who'd have thunk it? The man does a lot of searching up there in his free time. Moving on to other products that I know you guys like to sling once or twice at least, including our old friend VXX. Coming into the show was about 28.5. It seemed like it was right about pretty much kind of 2 points shy of where it was, and then fast forward a couple hours, and hey, it's right back to pretty much where it was last week, right at the 30 handle almost exactly, which kind of makes our flash poll here for the week, or at least for the show, kind of moot. We asked you guys, what are we going to see now that we had broken, and at least when we put that up yesterday, it was a 24-hour quick flash poll. When we put it up, we said, hey, we're broken pretty hard through the 30 handle to the downside in VXX. What do you think we're going to see next? VXX of 30 or a VXX of 26? At the time, coming into the show, it was pretty evenly split. I think we got some recency bias going up now with 60% saying 30. Go figure, because we're at 30 right now. But 41% saying 26, keep going down. Maybe some wishful thinking in there. I was going to ask you guys that question, but now it's kind of moot. The market has rendered it completely moot, sir.
I say 30.
Oh, there we go. Yes, going out on a limb there. I like that. Let's look at what's been lighting it up out here this week in VXX land. VXX today putting up, it's averaging about 240,000 contracts a day. And today's looking pretty robust as well, up doing about 214,000. Seems like it'll probably blow through that ADV by the end of the day. Thursday, all the rest of the week pretty robust as well. Thursday, about 240. Wednesday, 247K. Tuesday and Monday, the light days, 193,000 and 190,000 on Monday. In terms of Mr. Rock Lobster, I'm going to give you a hard question, and I know you're going to have a hard time. You have to do some deep research for this. Are you ready? Are you set? What, pray tell, could possibly be the number one open options position in VXX, sir? Go. You have 3 seconds.
Something in January. Something in puts.
Jan
something
75
with
calls.
a 10 handle.
Is that what you said? Jan 75 calls? No, you're completely wrong, sir.
Exactly.
It is the Jan 10 puts. We do actually have, while we're talking about those, we have another flash kind of question of the week up about that right now. Actually, our real question of the week. We said at the time, VIX or VXX had broken through the 30 handle. Many of you, we know from your email and your tweets and everything else, continue to be fascinated with the ongoing saga that is these VXX Jan 10 puts. Open interest, like we mentioned here, over 200,000. Thousands continue to trade for a penny, including last week. We saw some big prints. We'll talk about those in a minute. Our question to you, very simply. Would you trade these puts? Yes, I'd buy them for a penny. Yes, I would sell them for a penny. No, it's just gambling, or I have enough of these crazy-ass VXX puts. Mr. Rhoads, I'll scroll down so you won't be tempted to cheat. What was your thought? What is your weigh in? And then what do you think our audience, how do you think they're weighing in?
I wouldn't touch them, and I don't think the audience in general would touch them.
Interesting.
Although I know it's sparked a lot of conversation.
It has sparked a lot. People are just obsessed. My favorite still is the guy who wrote in and said he went on a Imelda Marcos shoe shopping spree for these puts. Talk about, you thought your other reference was dated, Mr. Rock. That was a pretty dated one too, but it kind of brought a smile to my face nonetheless. Mr. Rock Lobster, you had a chance to weigh in yesterday. Have you changed it, or are you still? I know personally you're in the I have enough camp. You think our audience is there too?
I think the audience is interested, although I have to say puts that look more interesting are like the 16-17s. That's totally off the pole, but I think the audience is going to be not interested. Even they're not interested, but I definitely am not interested in buying anymore.
Yeah, so far, let's see, we got our audience weighing in. We got about a day left, listeners, if you haven't voted in this one. A lot of you have. Looks like a yes winning the day. Yes, buy them for a penny, leading out with about 57%. 23% saying no, get them away from me, they're just gambling. So you get in the grumpy Russell old man kind of corner. 14% saying yes, sell those for a penny. I don't know if I can get on board that train. And then those are people who probably won't be in our audience perhaps for very long. And then 6% saying, no, I have enough of those. I can get on board with that. I should probably be in that camp as well. Let's see, looking here, interesting stuff. Worth noting, we talked last week on the show. Actually, still the number 5 open position in VXX are the AUG 25 puts expiring today. There's quite a few, 53,000 open of those going in to today, and looks like going up into showtime, we are seeing a lot of prints going up on these bad boys too, to the tune of we saw some going up today, and let's see, about 12,500 going up 2 cents. So these are very cheap. We saw them going up for, what was it last week? We saw them going up for a penny last week. So it looked like at the time there wasn't a lot of OI up there. So it seemed like it was opening, about 15,000 of them trading for a penny. So far, at least, if everything holds water, doesn't seem like those are going to pan out. Yes, there's still 53,000 open on that strike coming into today. So unfortunately, whoever was piling into those puts and doing it en masse, not exactly feeling the love. Also, the AUG 64s that we mentioned that are open, number 9 on our list here, open. There are 29,000 of those open as well. Those apparently they're still open. Those don't apparently seem to have much chance either. 4 cents at 5. Again, we've seen crazier things. 2.8 million contracts outstanding. About 1.3 million on the calls, 1.5 million on the puts. So that shows you, people always write in, who buys these calls? There's a lot open out there. Some of that is vestigial, obviously. Some of that is legacy from when it was a lot higher. But still, there is some interest in these crazy VXX options and calls in general. Mr. Rhoads, do products like VXX come under your new purview, sir? Or are you too busy counting up the contract flow?
I'm trying to do a land grab and take on the ETFs as well right now because we haven't done a lot of work. So yes, they do.
It would seem like it's ripe for the picking. No one else is doing it over there, right?
Well, I know it shows up in different parts. It shows up in the equities practice. It shows up in some of the other areas that are followed, but not kind of in the way that I've paid attention to derivatives in the past. So, and I did write a note on the Bitcoin ETFs and why they're not gonna, why they have not. I shouldn't say not gonna, but why they haven't been approved quite yet.
Were you surprised that they got the red flag yet again over there? Your friends, the Winklevoss twins?
No, I wasn't.
Why not?
Because there are five. We sure changed directions of the conversation very quickly, didn't we?
That's what happens when you're in studio. You just steer me on a dime.
You know what? Because there are five things that the SEC keeps saying they want to see, and none of the filings yet have really done anything that would change people's minds on these things. And some of the things relate to market conditions that have not gone away yet. They want how are you going to come up with an NAV for an exchange traded fund for something that trades on 20 different venues and has different prices at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central? That's one. So maybe the solution is to use the futures market to do an ETF. Well, between SIBO and CME together, I think we're doing about 175 million a day, and that's a 24-hour day in Bitcoin in spot Bitcoin trading. So if you've got an ETF that has a couple hundred million in it, that right there is going to wreck that market and have too much. You're going to have a huge inflow into the futures. The futures is going to spike up a lot relative to the spot Bitcoin because there's not a lot of arbitrage going on there. There's just lots of structural issues that the market hasn't matured enough to open up the door for an ETF yet.
Yeah, with all the spotlight on VIX and the issues going on there with its settlement, they don't seem prone to approve yet another product that could cause all sorts of wild hysteria and mass movements around settlement and all those kind of times when these things are tying up.
Would not be the least bit surprised if what happened with and we're both of us are pouring a little bit of our 40 on the ground right now in respect of XIV.
Disclaimer, I'm not drinking a 40, listeners.
Yeah, no, we both got our 40s. We're pouring a little on the ground, but, like we do for our fallen brother there. And I think that, honestly, what happened with XIV, which, had an underlying is a futures market, may have them taking a little bit of a pause with respect to ETPs that would use the use the Bitcoin futures contract.
I was just going to ask you about that because I'm looking at the numbers. You're Mr. Numbers across the industry, man, now. And the numbers come out of OCC, not looking too optimistic in terms of VIX futures. VIX futures right now, ADV down 23% year to date. In July, their volume was down 43% from a year ago. Mm-hmm. I know there's been a lot of hand-wringing what it is. I think it's clear. It's pretty much the death of XIV, and the neutering of these other products has really killed. I know there's been a piece come out of the FT recently saying there's no demand for VIX futures. That's why it's not there. No demand for bullish upside, which I think is nonsense. We talked about it on the show before. But I think it's pretty clear now that the unwinding of those products has been, shall we say, detrimental to the VIX futures market. Mr. Rhoads, would you concur?
I think that's part of it. Part of it's the roll down trade hasn't really existed as well as you would like it to. There's a lot of risk involved in that because contango hasn't been terribly steep. When you're in that mid range with VIX and the 14-15 range and the curve is kind of flat, you don't have people playing that trade anymore. So that's part of the issue. Seasonal has something to do with it as well. But of course, coming off of a volatility event like we did in February, that always results in a drop in volumes for VIX futures. I think that not having quite as healthy an ETP market probably contributes as well. So there's a lot of contributing factors.
Of course, 43% from a year ago, that's pretty, this is the same seasonal time, so you'd think seasonal issues would somewhat be factored out there. But yeah, you're right. It's either way, it's looking pretty dire.
I think it's more than just one factor. I wouldn't just blame the ETPs on this one. I think there's some other things that have come into play as well.
Nuanced interpretations. What fun is that? This is radio, sir. You must be dire and histrionic at all times.
Hey, look, 3 months ago I wouldn't have even discussed this with you.
You're right, because you literally would not have been here.
No, but you know what I mean.
I understand what you're talking about. Yeah. Hey, SIBO stock reflecting it as a result. We're trading today off another about 0.5%, down now 91.75 after hitting some peaks well up north of 100, 104.5. So yeah, the issues with the futures continuing to weigh on all things at SIBO over there. Speaking of what's weighing, let's see what's weighing on your mind. Let's get to it real quick and open up our volatility voicemail.
It's time to share your thoughts and opinions with your fellow volatility traders. It's time to check the volatility voicemail. Make your voice heard by dialing 779-669-4VOL. Posting a comment on the optionsinsider.com, sending an email to questions@theoptionsinsider.com, or posting your questions to twitter.com/options or facebook.com/theoptionsinsider.
All right, everybody, it's time for you guys to take the reins. We'll do a real quick run through here on our Vol voicemail because we've been gassing on. That's what happens when Mr. Rhoads comes into the studio. But the good thing is we don't have TWIFO. We moved it to Thursday, so we can if we have to run a little long today, it's not the end of the world. Let's see here. Let's start off with a question from VolBug. He says, when it's all said and done, is the bottom line that all inverse VIX products, whether short-term or mid-term, can be subject to an acceleration event like SVXY given a high enough spike in VIX? Thanks. I think that's a pretty fair statement. That's kind of what we were just alluding to earlier with XIV being pretty much undone by the VIX apocalypse, and SVXY, of course, and its sister products being effectively neutered as a result of that. I think that's a pretty fair conclusion. I'm trying to think of a inverse VIX product, and maybe Russell or Andrew, you can think of one that is completely insulated from a VIX spike. I don't know how that would be. That would be a magical product if that was the case. I can't think of one. Can you?
No. Nothing comes to mind.
Mr. Rhoads or Mr. Rocklofs, can you think of a magical VX or VIX product that is inverse yet also insulated from the upside?
A magical product? The only way I could think about it if they invented an ETF that had an embedded call in it.
You have to have some sort of call kicker, but then it's going to drag on the performance, right? So it's not you probably wouldn't like it 9 times out of 10. But then the one time the VIX apocalypse happens, you got a smiley face on because you're not dead.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I've always looked at, if you do better job, I think, kind of picking your spot to buy a call when you're short, when you want to short a vol product. But yeah, it would definitely drag on it, but it would also, people bought naked short ETFs, so maybe they could be persuaded to buy a short ETF. Short future ETF with, a basket of VIX calls with it.
We're joking. We're joking about that, but maybe that's the road to get a new one of these things approved. When you go to the SEC, you'd be like, yeah, but we got these calls in our back pocket, so we're not going to exactly track it. We're going to be a little bit off on that. But when the worst happens, we're sitting pretty, or at least not looking as terrible. So
maybe that'll be that's the road. Number 3 for Carmen Line.
Yeah, there we go. Maybe that'll be XIV version 2, now with kickers, now with call kickers. So we don't have those crazy, pesky acceleration events. Short answer, VolBug, yeah, that's pretty much the bottom line. I can't imagine. If you're short, you're short. There's kind of not many, unless you're paying for protection. There's not many ways around that. A lot of people firing off on the puts again here, as you might imagine. Mr. Rocklobster, LL09 wants to know, are you guys still trading these things? I'm assuming he's referring to the VXX Jan 10 puts. He said he saw 1,000 go up yesterday. I believe that was a few sessions ago. He wants to know if that was the meatball. Was that you guys buying more of these puts, Mr. Rocklobster?
No, somebody paid. Actually, I don't even think they're trading a penny anymore. Nobody will sell them. So we actually saw a 2-cent print.
Yeah, they printed 2 cents yesterday, I think, right?
Yeah, so you could just tell them Mark has been given other things to do. He's unless we see some like 10-handle VIX for at least a month period, our hopes of making any real money on them will probably be gone. We need to see some sustained lower vol to really crush VXX, but at least enough to get those futures melting. So, I thought we would start seeing something this week, but Turkey, and we have another weekend crisis coming, and who the heck knows? So lots of interesting things to parse this weekend.
All right, we got a lot of people right now. I'll pick this one more here for the puts, and then we'll put it to bed for this week. We've got a comment more, not a question, from LVAC number 2. He says E-Trade wants to charge me $159.95 to buy 200 of those VXX Jan 10 puts. That's highway robbery. Well, yeah, I'm with you. That's actually the point I was making to Mark when he was on the show last time, because he was talking, Andrew, about how you guys are getting, you're choosing where you can route, and so you're getting paid to open and provide liquidity. A lot of your retails goes, as LVAC is showing here, don't have that luxury, or the firm doesn't pass it along to them, so they're charging them literally more than the thing's worth to buy them. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. That's the vagaries. The E-Trade account is. I mean, you're getting a pretty good platform for not a lot of money. But they're not going to pass any of those goodies through to the average retail person.
They might want to, when the thing is so cheap, maybe they don't want to incentivize people trading lottery tickets, but when things so freaking cheap, maybe they dial it back a little bit.
I mean, but you think about it, right? They're damned if they do, and they're damned if they don't. Like, you let us trade these 1 penny contracts and throw in our hard money away.
Yes, exactly. They don't want to incentivize it. I understand. I'll reach out to those guys and bug them just for the hell of it. So how come you're not letting people buy all these crappy puts?
Yes. Why are you not buying these? Why are you letting people buy these?
Shame on you. I wag my finger in your general direction. All right, let's keep on rolling. It is time for us to see how we all fared. It is time for the crystal ball.
It's time to peer into the future and reveal what the volatility gods hold in store. It's time to look into the crystal ball.
Russell's just cracking up over here. I have no idea what he's laughing at, but he's having a good time.
I think I automatically win just because it's a high number, even if I wasn't here last week.
Yes, VIX is up. Russell wins by default. Actually, I forgot if it was you or if it was the meatball last week, Mr. Rocklaps. I think it was the meatball. But he actually was closer than he's come in a while. He was at 12.76. I was still feeling the fade. I was feeling it less than some others. I was going down to 11.45, which was looking good till about 12 hours ago. And then our guest, which I believe was David Lincoln last week, he was at 12.05, so kind of splitting the uprights there. So I guess Mr. Meatball, you'll get the rub for Mr. Rock Lobster, or spin that around. Mr. Rock Lobster, you'll get the rub for Mr. Meatball. But first, though, because he's our guest, and I'm being nice, and because it's the day that VIX is up, so he probably would have been buying anyway. Mr. Rhoads, we shall allow you to go first. Ooh. I know it's been a while. This is the portion of the show where we try to guess where VIX will be next week at this exact time. It's very difficult. So what are you feeling? Like 27 for next week? Are you or maybe a little? Am I being a little bit too low? Like 42?
Oh gosh, I gotta think on this. What was the high back in February?
Well, you don't work for SIBO anymore, so you don't need to talk up. So you can pick whatever you want now. You're good.
Well, I was never talking VIX up.
Just giving you a hard time, sir.
It was so darn difficult writing about VIX every week when it never went anywhere. I was just hoping
is 2017 would happen. Your annus horribilis? Is that like your year where you're just like, I'm out, I'm done with this job? It's VIX of 9.
They were like so impressed with all the blogs that I wrote, and basically I just changed a few dates and kept writing the same thing for 50 weeks.
Hey,
it was that easy last year.
It paid the bills, so it worked out all right. That's a lot of stalling for you. How you feeling?
13.05, lower than where we are right now. But,
almost unched.
People gonna start worrying about September.
So you're thinking this is not a little bit of a blurb. This is or a blip to the upside. This is sustained at least for a week. Interesting. So, Mr. Rhoads, you haven't lost your love of the upside there yet.
Well, it depends on what you guys say.
Too late. You're locked in. There's no changing now. You can't be like the meatball. What did you say? Oh, or the rock lobster. Oh, I'm going to nickel better. All right. Mr. Rock Lobster, I bought you some time. I'll give you a little bit of the rub off Meatball's lucky dart throw last week. What are you feeling for next week, sir?
I think we will trade a little higher in the short term, but I think ultimately it all just goes poof by Friday. So I'm going to go 11.01 for Friday.
Ooh, that's a good poof. That's an aggressive poof. I would not be upset at that poof, sir. I'll put that out there. But let's see. I don't know if I'm quite as optimistic in the poofing as you. I don't know if I'm quite as optimistic in the ability to sustain this little vol blip either. So I'm going to, uncharacteristic for me, I'm going to actually kind of split the middle here. I like it, I like us a little bit lower than where we are now, but not a ton. I'm going to say 12.25 for this time next week. So that's our range there, listeners. We got, surprise, surprise, Mr. Rhoads on the upside, 13.05. Mr. Meatball, Mr. Rock Lobster on the downside, 11.01. And I'm Goldilocks this week, 12.25, right in the middle, splitting the uprights.
Just right.
All right, unfortunately, listeners, that music means we've come to the end of another fun journey through the world of volatility. See, you get people together in the studio, you have some 40s, and everyone has a good time talking volatility. I'm gonna get you in trouble with your new employers there, Mr. Rhoads. You brought it up. You said you were drinking for. Full disclosure for all Tabb people listening, we're not drinking any alcoholic beverages, at least until after the show. But before we...
That's what the meatball does when he visits.
Well, yeah, if he was here, we'd already be cleaned out of all the adult beverages. All right, but before we go around the horn, since he hasn't been here in a while, we'll let him go first. Mr. Rhoads, we talked about your exclusive options market research. What else you got cooking in the land of Tabb, and where can people go to find out more?
Tabb Forum and Tabb Group are the two websites where my research appears now. I've been with them for 2 weeks, so I'm going on vacation next week.
Sounds about right.
It was a pre-planned vacation, but I'll definitely continue watching the markets.
Going anywhere fun?
New Buffalo, Michigan.
When I think fun, I often think New Buffalo, Michigan.
Yes.
That, there's like maybe Hawaii, Europe, and then number 3 on that list, probably New Buffalo, Michigan. So, but to each their own. I hear the Buffalo wings there are quite good, even though it's not quite Buffalo.
I will report back at some point about the vacation.
They've done a good rip-off of Buffalo wings up there, so try them, let me know. All right, Mr. Rock Lobster, same question for you, sir. If people are intrigued by these VXX strangles and all the other crazy things you're doing, where should they go? What should they do?
Go to the Option Pit store, go to optionpit.com and go to the store. Look at all our Made Easy stuff. I'm going to do a new course in September, getting your juice for free, but showing you how to buy options the right way. If you don't make money with my course, which almost all my clients do, at least to pay for it during the time of the course, I will be hugely shocked, and that means you screwed up somehow.
I like that. It's on you. It's your fault. You suck. If you don't make money, you suck. That's on your business card. Option Pit. If you don't make money, you suck. I like that.
Well, we try to be gracious where we can.
He's not even drinking the 40s over there, man. He's always like this, listeners. If you want to find out if you suck or not, go to optionpit.com to learn more. And on behalf of the Rock Lobster and Mr. Rhoads over here, and indeed myself, I want to thank all of you out there for downloading, streaming, subscribing, sending in questions, listening live, all the fun stuff that you do. Some of you like to play along with your own guesses at home. I know you've hitting us up before. Send them in. Send in your guesses. You can play the crystal ball as well, and you could also get praise if you win. Maybe you win some fun prizes. Maybe you can also get shamed if you lose. You got to have both sides, listeners. We're out here every week shaming ourselves for your entertainment and enjoyment. So at the very least, you can play along. But send them in. You can play, and maybe you're on the upside with Mr. Rhoads here, or maybe you're on the weird far downside with Mr. Rock Lobster. So let us know. Otherwise, we'll talk to you next week for more Volatility Views.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.